Patricia Gibson for the SNP.
Thank you, Mr Chair. And I want to begin by thanking the honourable member for East Kilbride, Straven and Lesmahago. And I have the distinction, Mr Chair, of probably being the only member in the chamber today who can actually pronounce her constituency properly, which I found out from other debates. I'm delighted to participate in this debate calling for a global ban on animal testing, for which I think, and we've heard so eloquently put by the Honourable Lady, the time has definitely come. Cosmetic testing on animals has been banned in the UK since 1998, and we've heard that there has been a ban on the sale of all animal testing cosmetics in the EU since 2013. Noticeably, this has not prevented the EU cosmetics industry from thriving, and indeed it provides around 2 million jobs. However, members of the European Parliament have expressed some concern that most cosmetic product ingredients are also used in many other products, such as pharmaceuticals, detergents or foods, and may therefore have been tested on animals under a different legal framework. So it's important that the EU moves towards the development of alternative testing methods, and that these alternative methods receive international regulatory acceptance for use in safety assessment of cosmetic ingredients and products. But in global terms, we still have a long way to go, despite the progress made in the EU and the United Kingdom, as the Honourable Lady from East Kilbride, Straven and Lesmahago has pointed out. 80%, astonishingly, 80% of countries worldwide still allow animal testing and the marketing of cosmetics tested on animals. Indeed, China is one country with a major cosmetics market, which not only allows but requires products to be tested on animals in government labs before being approved for sale on the market. And it's generally thought that China's mandatory animal testing requirement for imported cosmetics is likely to be the biggest challenge for a global ban. There's also a lack of reliable animal testing data on cosmetics imported into the EU, as the Honourable Lady has pointed out. We need to make sure that no product placed on the EU or UK market has been tested on animals in a third country, and that requires us to do a little bit more work, I think. I'm heartened that our partners in the European Parliament have called upon the EU leaders to use their diplomatic networks to build a coalition and launch an international convention within the EU framework, with a ban in force, I hope, before 2023. Now, we know a UN treaty cannot guarantee a global ban on cosmetic testing on animals, but it would be a bold and progressive step in the right direction. And it's a step which I think the UN, and I think probably everyone in this chamber would agree, it's a step which the UN really has to take. And it would certainly help, to quite a considerable extent, I think, it would certainly help to encourage China and others which do mandate testing to modernise and stop blinding, poisoning and killing animals so that we can have lipstick, mascara and blusher. And as we've heard, what is most distressing about this issue is that cosmetic testing on animals is completely and wholly unnecessary. Yet it is a cause of huge suffering to our fellow creatures. Transferring the results of animal tests to humans has proven to be problematic and even misleading at times. A better way of assuring safety is by using approved tests that do not use animals, and by sticking to the many combinations of existing ingredients that have already been established as safe for human use. We know, as we've heard from the Honourable Lady from East Kilbride, Straven and Lesmahago, we know that consumers are becoming increasingly ethical when it comes to purchasing power and consumer choice. So a ban, apart from the cruelty aspect, a ban on testing on animals makes sense in terms of responding to consumer demand. Despite the availability of alternatives, countless animals around the world continue to be subject to cruel tests so that a new eyeliner or a new perfume can be developed. The lack of global and concerted action on this so far, and I recognise that progress has been made, but the lack of concerted global action on this means that the cosmetics industry, in large part, continue to test as they have always done, when we absolutely know, that if the cosmetic industry was around the globe legally required to stop testing on animals, then that industry would adapt and it would survive and it would thrive. Modern science is replacing last century's animal tests with kinder, faster, better tools for consumer safety. And it is global action that is needed. Otherwise, testing will simply move, as we've heard from the Honourable Lady, it will simply move to those countries where no bans on cosmetic testing are in place. There is huge public support for this, for a global ban. And as the Honourable Lady has pointed out, there is clearly widespread cross-party political support for this measure. And we have support across every party in this House, I believe, and we have support right across the European Union. We should harness and use that influence to influence the bad practice that we know goes on in other parts of the world. From an ethical viewpoint, testing cosmetics on animals is indefensible for our fellow creatures to suffer so unnecessarily for our vanity because of our global inaction. And from a scientific viewpoint, it is indefensible because there is a better way. Mr Chair, I believe it's time for the cosmetic industry, for cosmetic testing on animals to stop. I believe the beauty industry needs a makeover, and it's time for international global action.